All right. What's good, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us for our podcast. This is the Wellington Heights Community Church podcast. I am Pastor Keon. I get to lead Wellington Heights Community Church with my wife, Pastor Stephanie, and a great leadership team and staff and volunteers. So we're excited. Today, we are excited to interview Nora Heaton. She is the Flourishing Neighborhood Index project lead. Nora, she's leading the F&I. We're calling it the F&I because Flourishing Neighborhood Index is kind of long, right? So there's that. So it's an 18-month program that we are doing with Focus Community Strategies, which is a ministry out of Atlanta, Georgia. The F&I allows us to gather meaningful data while building neighborhood collaboration and facilitating communal decision making. We are on our fourth month, and Nora's been spending time collaborating with Focus Strategy Ministries, organizing, which is a phase one. There's 4 phases, and Nora's going to get into that more as we continue to talk. As the months get warmer, we're going to be gearing up to deploy and to take action. And so I'm here with Nora. Say hi to everybody, Nora.
Hi, Pastor Keon and everybody.
Thank you again so much for tuning in. Just kind of a plug with our podcast. If this is your first time, we launch podcasts every Sunday whenever we have a service, or sometimes we get different episodes as well, focus on different topics, such as this one. And so we wanted to take some time to really get to know Nora and get to know what she is doing with the Flourishing Neighborhood Index. Nora, I'd said before that I'm going to kind of give you a question that you were not prepared for, because that's the type of person that I am. But it's an easy one. What sorts of music are you listening to right now, and really what sorts of music kind of inspire you? Because Nora has a beautiful voice and is a great singer. So yeah.
I wasn't anticipating this question, but I do listen to music quite a bit, and there are a few songs that are sort of on rotation, on repeat. I tend to hyperfixate on a song and play it until I can't listen to it anymore. There are a few, but I've been trying to explore worship music from different areas and different artists that I'm unfamiliar with. And so there's a Nigerian artist that I've been listening to a lot lately.
Nice.
And yeah.
Cool.
It's been good.
Cool.
It's good to I think it's good to connect in that way musically with God for me.
Do you feel like you connect with a certain genre more, or you kind of draw from inspiration of all different genres?
I think that it's a lot of different genres for me, and part of it feels very intentional to me. I like to think of connecting to different types of music and different artists as the way that I would interact with a person that I'm meeting. And so, this artist is telling me a story along with every other artist who's collaborated on that work is doing storytelling, and especially if that story is from a context that I'm not already familiar with, I learn from it. And so I try to approach music that way, and I feel that really enhances my life to be able to hear a lot of different music.
Awesome. That's awesome. Let's get into it. I want to give you a moment to be able to introduce yourself, share how you got connected to Wellington Heights Church, to Christian community development, and touch on the journey, your journey to becoming the project lead for the F&I. So you could tackle one of those questions.
Sure.
Or all of them.
So I've been a part of Wellington Heights Community Church since I think the summer of 2021, and the buildings hadn't opened yet, but we're about to. I think that's right. The right timeline, and so I had heard that the church was looking for musicians to participate in worship, and so I had responded to an email call for that, and nobody knew who I was. They just sort of showed up, said, I want to sing. I love God and I want to sing. So that's why we were talking about music, because that's sort of my start with the church. But I have I've really loved and appreciated all of the different aspects of our mission, and feel very, very bonded to this congregation, and just love what the church does and stands for. So I've been participating as much as I can in all of the different events that we have, and the Flourishing Neighborhood Index I had heard about, was really, really excited about, and then learned that we were looking for a project lead, and so wanted to get involved in that way.
Awesome, yeah, and you've always been kind of just involved, like, and it's been, that's part of leadership in general, is sometimes people wonder how certain people get jobs, or certain people are hired for certain things. Usually it's because they're already kind of doing that work, right? They're already showing leadership and showing interest and showing passion about a mission or vision. And you also got the opportunity to go to the Christian Community Development Association conference last year in Cincinnati. How was that?
It was amazing. It was very affirming, I would say, to be among other followers of Christ who see our approach very similarly to what I had come to understand here. I would say I didn't understand until I went there how special this place is, and the things that we're doing here that are just a part of my concept of church are not common, as much as I would love it to be. And so, I really learned in the CCDA conference, as people continued to talk about how special these principles were. I felt so heartened to be a part of a church that follows those principles.
Yeah. Oftentimes when you go to a CCDA conference, you kind of get this feeling of finally, like I'm giving language to some of the things that I've wanted to express, or some of the things that I've wanted to kind of walk out. And for those who don't know, CCDA is Christian Community Development Association. We are a CCDA church. It was founded by civil rights leader Dr. John Perkins, and really what it is we want to walk out the holistic gospel, the whole gospel, not just spiritual, but physical. We believe that Jesus wants to touch every part of our lives, right? And we do that in places that people may call under-resourced communities. We believe that, there are no God-forsaken places, but there may be church-forsaken places. And so, as a church, we want to come alongside those in those places, because we know that there's gifts, talents, and abilities right there, and God is there. And so, yeah. So, Nora, switching gears, can you kind of guide us through the process of the F&I for us? There are four stages. Can you kind of talk a little bit about those stages?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the F&I refers to a process, but also a specific tool of measuring. So the kind of the overarching idea of it is, what the consultant team describes as, you can't fix a problem that you don't understand.
Yeah.
So the F&I's mission is to understand as much as possible the neighborhood and its strengths, its needs, its goals, its hopes, its successes, etc. So the way that is broken down is into 4 stages. Right now we're in the organized stage, which is about 3 months. We've just been talking to people within the community, to neighbors, to officials in the community, just stakeholders in the mission, to kind of get people excited and start the process. The next phase that we are about to move into, as of this month, is the assessment phase. So that will be a few different things. One is we'll be doing neighborhood mapping, which is actually going to all of the different parcels of land, pieces of land, addresses within the neighborhood, taking note of what's on that space. Is it a building, commercial building? Is it a home? Is it a park? What is the physical environment of our neighborhood, just so that we have kind of a lay that we can use later, that we can best understand. And then along with that, there will then be the qualitative data of the neighbor surveys. So that will actually be neighbor to neighbor. So people who reside in Wellington Heights will have the opportunity to interview and be interviewed, neighbor to neighbor, peer to peer. That is something that we're also offering some compensation for the time and labor of that as well. So people who are interviewed will receive a gift card. People who interview as the surveyors will receive payment. And that will take note of metrics, social metrics, structural metrics, economic metrics, just thinking about the holistic health of the neighborhood. So there are quite a few questions that it asks, with the goal of understanding just how people feel about their neighborhood, how people feel things are going, what people think would be useful or needed. So that's the assessment phase. That would take about 6 months or so, and all of these are kind of soft timelines. They might adjust a little bit. After that, the next few months would be our alignment phase, and so that would be just analyzing all of the data, which our consultant team is going to be very, very instrumental and helpful with that. They've been doing this process for years in many different neighborhoods, and we've been very excited when we've looked at kind of the results and information that other neighborhoods and other communities have gotten. We can't wait to learn that about our own in Wellington Heights. And then the final phase will be activation, and so that is just taking the data that we've gotten from our neighborhood and coming up with ways that we can support as collaborators within this neighborhood. So in partnership with organizations and entities within the community, we can actually put together an implementation plan to address any of the barriers that neighbors identified to whatever holistic health means to them.
Yeah, that's so good. And the thing that makes me excited about is that it's all done with the neighborhood, and there's so many projects that are done to the neighborhood, and they're good, but we all know kind of like that reality of like when you're doing something with someone, it builds passion together, and you're able to like it's able to go further than what it would if you were doing it alone. And so I'm excited about that. Especially since I'm a resident, and you're a resident of the neighborhood as well. So it hits us like personally that the results of this is going to help this neighborhood flourish. Is there any in stage one? Is there any stories or just excitement that stands out to you in the process of stage one?
Well, I think that the excitement has been really encouraging. So just overall, I noticed that whenever we talk about the Flourishing Neighborhood Index in church, out in the community, when we talk about it online, people just respond with warmth and excitement. And I think that really speaks to love that people have for Wellington Heights and our residents, and just excitement at being part of a process that will hopefully, work toward justice for all of us.
Yes, yeah. I've been me and Pastor Stephanie in the kind of the back end when we were kind of trying to share vision of the F&I in 2023. It's just been a cool thing to bring in entities that don't always work together with churches. And so, we've been able to work with the city, with foundations, with nonprofits, and they're all excited. And we've actually got funding from those entities as well. And so there's excitement behind it, because I think those entities know, whether they be individuals, the city, or foundations, those individuals know that when this process, or through this process, it's bringing about restoration, it's bringing about relationship building, but also it's going to bring about things that we can ultimately do together. Because again, you can get data, but like if you're not doing it with the people and you're not doing it with organizations and things like that, it's just going to be data. And I love data, but data kind of stays online. Data doesn't move without people using it and using it to help flourish not only themselves but others around them.
And I wanted to add too, we've had a lot of interest from a lot of different people, but it will take as many people as are interested.
Yeah.
So if you're listening and you are interested in becoming involved in any way, whether it's your entity or organization or you as an individual, please reach out to us and we'll touch on that later too. But there's always room for more collaboration.
Yeah, it's more than an 18-month process. So there's definitely, like Nora said, there's definitely specific things that people can help with within the 18-month process, but there's going to be things that we can't even imagine that we'll need your help with. So what's going on next week with the F&I?
Well, we have Focused Community Strategies. The consultant firm from Atlanta is coming to visit us here in Wellington Heights.
Super excited about that.
It is pretty exciting because we'll be able to really show off our neighborhood and all of the things that we love about it. We'll kind of be able to see someone who's coming in with fresh eyes and just experiencing it for the first time. We'll be able to kind of marvel secondhand at it too, which I'm looking forward to. And then also, we'll be working with them on a few different things, but one of them would be a volunteer training, which we will have on Wednesday, April 17th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the church. And you can let me know if you are interested in that to register for it, but it will be learning how to do neighborhood mapping. So that's, again, the process where we'll go through each piece of land and each address within Wellington Heights and kind of map out the neighborhood itself.
Yeah.
So they'll be showing us how to do that. And they're very experienced in it, and we're very experienced in the collaborating with our neighborhood so far. So I think that coming together to do that will really be a good thing.
Yeah. And just thinking about neighborhood mapping again, what's going on is like you said, we're taking pictures of not only pictures, but I think that there's some data that we're gathering as we are looking at each parcel, and I think how that helps with the neighborhood flourishing is that I think sometimes we don't know what conditions our neighborhood is in, and I think that it's for the city's best interest to know how things are in different neighborhoods, and I think it brings it to the city's attention. It brings it to our attention, like, wow, like I didn't know that this many houses needed this, this update or things like that. Is there any other thoughts about the parcel mapping that I'm missing that would benefit us in the flourishing of this neighborhood?
Well, I think you touched on a lot of it, and I mean, part of it too, it just will help guide us in our neighbor surveying as well.
Yeah.
To know where to go and what is where.
Yeah.
So that'll be useful, and then also, I think that there are a lot of things that we might drive past them or walk past them every day and just sort of take for granted that that's what's there,
Yeah.
but not realizing that maybe everybody doesn't know that, as you said, and it just brings a more holistic picture,
Yeah.
I think, to be able to see all of that.
I think so too. Yeah, these homes, these parks, they all have a story, and I've only been in Cedar Rapids since 2017, and so some of the things that I'm seeing are pretty brand new, right? And when I'm walking with people who lived here all their lives, they'll say, this house used to be this, and that park used to have that, and so that type of information, all of that is good because it we want to bring that in to help guide us on how to think about what we do in the future. So, with the Flourishing Neighborhood Index in Wellington Heights, our mission is to join God in the reconciliation of all things through worship, reconciliation, and neighborhood development. How do you feel that the F&I aligns with the church's mission?
Definitely. I do see a lot of alignment with the church's mission. And, and as we talk with the consultant team about philosophy, I just find it to be very affirming to what I understand of this church and what we do. And also more broadly with Christian community development principles as well. And one thing that I keep reflecting on as we go through the process is the CCDA principle of relocation, which is just really about proximity, about being near and close to the people and the community and the place that you are looking to build with and develop with. And that's really I would say that's the heart of the FNI to me, is just being able to really, as we say, come alongside our neighbors. So this is not a process where, we want to come in as outsiders who think that they know what to do for a community. I mean, and that's true for us, even though we are part of this community already. We're part of this neighborhood. We've been here for a while. Different members of our church, are very involved in the neighborhood, but also we know that doesn't mean we interact with everyone within this neighborhood.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that's something that is important too, that, we become proximate to everyone who is willing to speak with us about this, because every voice is extremely important, and a lot of them we might not have encountered before. So that's something that I see as really central to the FNI, is the relocation, the proximity piece.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I agree. There's John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. In the Message version, it says that he moved into the neighborhood, and I really like that. He got close and proximate to those, to people, right? And so, and God invites us into his work. And I think that's a huge thing when it comes to our faith, is that sometimes we think ministry is like ours, like God's given me this ministry, he's given me a calling, and there's some truth in that. But the reality is God is inviting you into something. He's inviting you into his work that he's already doing. So God was already in Wellington Heights, and so we're joining him. That's why you hear that a lot. We're joining God, because the moment we think that this place is desolate and God's not there is the moment you're saying that, like, God has abandoned a certain people group, or God is not there, and he's like, I'm done with these people, and that's not the God of the Bible. And so we believe in that proximity that you're talking about.
We do. And I think that, other principles that I've learned about through CCDA, reconciliation and redistribution, Dr. John Perkins, I think, had called those the 3 R's: relocation, reconciliation, and redistribution. And I see all of those in the F&I process too, because along with the relocation that we had just talked about, reconciliation, I think, is really key to this too, and that's part of why we're trying to understand the voices of the neighborhood so comprehensively and so fully, is so that we can participate in reconciliation.
Yes.
And that can be, reconciliation can be one-on-one relationship building, or group to group, restoring relationships, bringing shalom or peace. But it can also be just thinking of the oppressive systems that are part of our world, and what can we do as humans of this world to, kind of dismantle those things. And I think that that's something that is a big part of the F&I process too. And then the redistribution, I think, is key, because that's what we need in order to have equal access to resources.
Yes.
And in order to get to that point, we first have to figure out what are the barriers to us all being able to access resources equally,
That's
equitably. Right. And once we kind of have an idea of how that works in our context, we can act in justice toward that.
That's right. That's right. The movement moves on together, and we get to do that, inviting along with others, and it's a mutual thing. So like we don't walk ahead of each other, but we walk together. And so, what's your hopes for the F&I? What's your hopes for the F&I?
I guess one of my main hopes would be that our relationships throughout the neighborhood are strengthened and bolstered by this process. And that's not just to say us within Wellington Heights Community Church, but also neighbors amongst each other too. Yeah. You know, because wouldn't it be wonderful if, you know, say a neighbor was doing an interview survey of another neighbor and then they befriended each other. Yes, and then that was a connection that was built where maybe it wouldn't otherwise have exactly. Naturally, organically come up. Or people who are volunteering alongside each other, you know, at one of our events to promote the F&I. All of those things are factors too, because this is not something that Wellington Heights Community Church is doing and the neighborhood is a recipient of it. It's all, as we've been saying, it's all collaborative and mutualistic and done together. Yeah. And so the benefits also, I think, should be, you know, really acknowledge that they are all throughout.
Yeah, and I think it's important for us to talk about how, like, you know, 18 months from now, right, or, you know, at the end of this process, it's not that we will have all the answers, or even that we will have the key to, you know, complete flourishing, but we'll have a better view of our neighbor.
Yes.
We'll have a more clear view of our needs, our collective needs. I think that, and I hope that within the information that we get, that we've gotten together, I hope that there is a kind of a camaraderie or a commitment or integrity to move forward together with this information that ultimately speaks of the cries of the neighborhood, but it also speaks of the things that are already going on, because that's another thing that we will find out is like, oh man, like there's so many assets in this neighborhood that sometimes we just needed to kind of be aware of it. There's someone who wants to be a chef, or someone who wants to, you know, be an engineer, or whatever it may be. We won't know that. It's harder to know that when a neighborhood or people groups are not really connecting and relationships aren't being built. So those are some hopes. How can